Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Let's go ahead and get started. We're so excited you're here with us for this special event. My name is Sarah Martin with Global Ties KC, along my fellow colleague, Erin Zimmerman. At Global Ties KC, we connect the world to our community in Kansas and Missouri. We are excited to bring communities together today. So we are joined by both entrepreneurs from throughout Latin America and the Caribbean through the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, alongside members of the Kansas City community. So if this is your first time, welcome to Kansas City. We're so excited you're here. As a few reminders for the event today, please keep yourself muted throughout the event. We'd love to hear from you in the chat box, which can be accessed using your Zoom controls on the bottom of your screen. Additionally, we will be recording today and live streaming onto Facebook in just a moment. Feel free to keep your video off if you would not like to be featured on social media channels, including Global Ties KC and the Kansas City Latin Jazz Orchestra. However, we do definitely encourage you to follow all of the organizations represented today. You can find links in the chat. So today we are so excited to partner with the Kansas City Latin Jazz Orchestra to bring you an hour of music and cultural dialogue. The special presentation will be facilitated by Cynthia Ammerman and Pablo Sanhueza. Pablo has been deemed as Kansas City's heart and soul of Latin music by Jam Magazine and recognized as the region's premier salsa and Latin jazz percussionist and bandleader. Since his arrival to Kansas City from Santiago, Chile in 1996, Pablo has dedicated the past 20 years of his distinguished career to the music of the Latin American experience. In 2018, he co-founded the Kansas City Latin Jazz Orchestra, which is the first performance and education nonprofit in the Midwestern United States dedicated to salsa and Latin jazz. Representing Latino leadership in the arts, Pablo is a Missouri Arts Council touring artist and Missouri Humanities Council Speakers Bureau member. He and the Kansas City Latin Jazz Orchestra are endorsed by the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz for cultural and education outreach in Chile and the Midwestern United States. Last but not least, he is also a master artist for the Missouri Traditional Arts Apprentice Program. So for the rest of the event today, we're going to hear from Pablo, including his music and a bit into his life experiences. And now we just welcome you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. We'll play a video for you now.
Always a pleasure to be here, joining forces with a multi-generational band, and it's my time to be the elder. continue. ¿Tú quieres salsa? ¿Salsita? Yo sé que son salseros, vamos.
So Pablo and Cynthia, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Ammerman, and I am the Executive Director of the Kansas City Latin Jazz Orchestra. I am also a jazz historian and a preservation strategist here in the Midwest and the Southwest United States. And I'm going to facilitate today's artist talk with Pablo here. And so, Pablo, can you tell us briefly about how you landed in Kansas City and your journey to becoming a Latin jazz artist?
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Cynthia, for connecting me with you guys here online. I came to Kansas City in 1996, and this arrival is part of the political exile of my parents. I didn't have a choice other than coming with them because I was too young to be on my own, and so I came along, you know, and that in that process of displacement, we the political ties of my parents at the time and the political climate at the time were very dissonant, you know. Immediately I experienced what we call today what counterculture is, you know, like what being to having a different narrative than what most mainstream narratives we hear and we have access to, you know, and especially the narratives about Latin American peoples, you know, and particularly our personal experience. And through that, I became more aware of this experience of being like a subculture or a counterculture. Also connected me with experiences of so many other people that then it's very contradictory in a way to talk about countercultural subcultures when there's so many we have so many ties and connections to African culture, to the Arab world, you know, also to the American Indian world, of course, you know, and of course to Europe. So that contradiction, I felt it immediately, you know, and ever since it's been the process of understanding this enormous contradiction that the permanent displacements of people generate, to this point now that we're in the pandemic, and now it's evident, you know, that we're all displaced at some level, especially with now the labor, the workplace, you know, becomes a place of displacement too for all, you know. So today, I think that the immigrant experience has a certain like intersectional relevance, you know, because most people now who had not experienced displacement firsthand now experiencing it too, you know, like also the natural connection that we have had also with Black culture, American Black culture, since my association with the jazz world, you know, that's immediate too, you know, and the more latent and the more evident connections and the differences are very interesting, and we have been working with in the jazz district with all the contradictions it has to ever since I arrived and since 1996. I came in a moment a lot of things were changing. The jazz district was inaugurated in Kansas City at the time. and there was still the remnants of the old blues scene, which still exists in Kansas City. The blues scene seems to be very organic, and as it seems to have been surviving naturally, all of that. So we're connected to all of that. You know, my musicians come from Argentina, from the East Side, from Overland Park, from Columbia, Missouri, from Parkville. You know, I mean, like,
so we have an international audience today. So we have people in South America joining us also too.
Okay.
So like, yeah, talk a little bit more about like how being a Latino in a historical jazz city, maybe you're getting.
Oh, yeah. So all of that, I was kind of my circumstances put me into this in the middle of it right away. So ever since I've been in a way adapting every day, and it's a permanent adaptive process, and it will never end. And that I've learned to celebrate, you know, for the many changes that has brought. I moved to the Southwest for 4 years to continue doing music there with friends from Peru, with Afro-Peruvians and there, and Brazilians there for 4 years. And I got the opportunity to study with West African and Congolese, Central African master drummers, and that opened up an entire universe that is not as readily available in many cities. You know, like, although we just met a Congolese family around here, the corner where we are at right now, and they know the music, and since we rehearse here, it's funny because in the streets you identify yourself by codes, right? Like, for example, punk rockers know that it's a punk rocker because of the vests, and right. Mm-hmm. But then the people who do this type of music, you also identify each other by certain codes, such as certain colors. I'm not colors, like certain, how you call this? Bracelets and the like, that they have relation to all the religious practice, you know, to the culture, you know. So you know, oh, that is a drummer, because there is certain jewelry that only drummers wear, you know, in Africa, Latin America, but that's an African inheritance that is continued in Latin America, particularly from the Yoruba people of Nigeria, you know, that they wear particularly jewelry to publicly you identify yourself as an Ifa. You know, everybody here in the thread who's familiar with Afro-Latin America, African and Afro-Latin cultural arts know what I'm talking about. Ifa, what is commonly or ordinarily called Santeria, you know, but that's a controversial term because it's not what it is. Ifa, you know. Well, so we identify, I mean, just that call, I was like, hey, you play drums? Like, yeah. I mean, they're like, can I talk to you? They're like, yeah, where are you from? Congo. And I said, oh, wow. Just like, let's get together to play. Yeah. I've been here for a year or so. So he's like, speaks French fluently and English learning, you know? So yeah, experiences like that happen every day to us, you know, because of the movement of the peoples, the permanent, like the song, you know, like Bob Marley's when he sings, you know, in his song Exodus, movement of the people, he says it, you know, the permanent movement of the people. And we here in KCK, where we're located right now, is just in your face, you know, like KCK was just named by Forbes the U.S. capital of tacos, you know, Forbes magazine, you know, and it's not an outlandish claim. I mean, it's the quality is sustained. I mean, we know we're traveling all the time, and we kind of look forward to KCK tacos.
So we've had conversations in the past about how you work with multiple immigrant communities, mm-hmm. or you know, had friends that come from different countries and stuff, and so that seems to be a theme that, you know, you've connected with people more maybe on the immigrant experience as well as also being a Latino immigrant. Like, you have two experiences in that way. Like you seek out that shared immigrant experience sometimes.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
people
yeah.
from not only South America.
I just like can't get enough of it. I see like I wanna continue meeting more of the peoples of the world here in Kansas City, and wherever we go, it's like, you know, like I have that drive to especially through the music. I mean, you know, like I look after listening to the traditional musics of everywhere that I can, you know. And but now most recently, we've been working with the American Indian music, um, because it's one of the music that is the least celebrated, you know, in a way, you know, everybody acknowledges black music, maybe not as such, but it is like jazz, R&B, funk, hip hop, and it's like world known. But very few people know about American Indian music or other forms of American Indian music from other regions of Latin America. Even ourselves, the Latinos, you know, who we are very much the descendants of the American Indians as much as we are descendants of the colonizers. You know, it's a mix. You know, so and so that is what we are exploring now. As much as we also have, I mean, of course, the African. I mean, the Latinos are, we have African descent, American Indian, Iberian Peninsula, which is all the what we call, yeah, it's three countries. Well, two countries, basically Portugal and Spain. And but we also have a Arab roots, because the Arabs controlled the Iberian Peninsula for 10 centuries before the Europeans came here. So it's like all these layers are important for us to explore, and it's a permanent discovery, you know, because information has been manipulated, and it's natural that it is like that. So that the process of discovering ourselves is I think the biggest wealth or that we can contribute, is if, you know, like the at least initiate the process of rediscovering, you know. And also we have been even discovering what we've been discussing whiteness in within ourselves, you know, and that is a part of the discussion too. Basically, we have not shied out of discussing difficult issues, you know, within our own complexity of musicians, you know. Permanently, I have to say, if I say anything that is offensive, please let me know, because, you know, not really, you know, and you know, because it's not the intention. For example, if I say I really don't play to impress jazz majors, things like that, I would say, let's say in a clinic, I would say like that. Let's say like I don't play to impress jazz majors. You know, my goal is to hopefully, as a highest goal in a show, I would like to inspire somebody who is may not have the resources to pursue music to pursue it. You know, to have that kind of, you know, to see that we can very little, you can do a lot, because we play in precarious events all the time. I mean, all this music happens. We always work with the minimum. That stage, I mean, we are Cynthia selected just the best shows that we've had in years, which happened last year, right before the pandemic, to show you some of. But we produce our own block parties in Midtown Kansas City, and at least 300 people there. But there is no stage, there is no lighting. We're just in the street with microphones, PA out, and it sounds incredible. But there is no lighting, so there is no way for it's not a production. You see, although it is, but we're primarily we know what to work with very little resources means, and also the how to work. It's hard to show to people, to the very sometimes to the very musicians, how to inspire them to take this seriously, because they don't even know the amount of work that goes behind putting a show together. You know, playing the show and doing a rehearsal is a small part of doing this work. Setting up a production, we are do-it-yourself orchestra because we do not have the same access than people with many times a fraction of the career we have, that I have, or we have. I play internationally, you know, playing annually, well, not anymore since the pandemic, but you know, we have an international and national presence besides Kansas City. And now we're working in the Southwest, West Coast. Right now, we just flew back to Kansas City to conduct rehearsals and such, and do a show. So those are the struggles, and those are also the motivation. So the rediscovery, the permanent struggle for is like the dignity of the work of a musician is undermined permanently, you know, and sometimes by the very musicians. So how to all these conflictive issues, we have learned to live with them, with all the issues, that classism, racism, misogyny, and how it affects first us, you know, and that's a difficult thing to do, you know. But the more you do it, those words lose power, and you start having power over them, you know. Then you don't, then the more you speak and conceptualize, then it's not such an ugly word. Now it's a problem that needs to be resolved now, you know, instead of an avoid of something that you want to avoid because it doesn't feel right. It never is going to feel right, but at least we have learned to manage. Right now we have to manage that. If I want to, you know, one friend of mine told me I could never be an artist. Why? You play really well. I mean, you have talent. Yeah, but I could never dedicate myself to this. Why? Because I don't want to show myself my intimate thoughts and feelings. You know, you are comfortable with that. Obviously, you should. That's why you can do it. I am not. You know, I am not comfortable with showing. People say that I am, and that's what I'm telling you. Is conflicted. For example, right now we're flying back to Kansas City, and one of the guys, oh, I'm not available for rehearsals. Like, say what? No, it don't work like that. You have two adults flying back to conduct a rehearsal for you. We're flying back for this, and you're not available for what? To go and excuse me to say, but to go and deliver sandwiches? No.
So that's a great segue.
Because we're bringing in young people in as apprentices too, you see. I'm not just working with master artists. I'm trying to bring the youth in to learn what it's like to work in a professional orchestra, and those are the contradictions of us opening that door, you know. But that's the level of the experience, you know.
So you're not just an artist, you're a teaching artist.
I am a teaching artist,
but you're also an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because we need to produce money to pay the artists and to do it. So yeah, so we had a little system that is just starting to work now after 25 years, you know, just beginning to work now in the pandemic, because now the attention has shifted not to fund ideas, but to fund actual people who are actually doing this. Because the model before the pandemic was to fund ideas of people. Now we need to be more realistic now. You know, now foundations and organizations are looking for the actual people who continue active and actually doing things. I have continued to conduct rehearsals with the orchestra, you know, with observing all the measurements that the World Health Organization has outlined. And nothing has happened. Where nobody, there's not been one contagion in the orchestra, and it's 11 guys in the entire year. So we didn't let the pandemic cripple us, you know. Also, we were also we're being very cautious, and we are not booking shows. I mean, obviously, and the shows that we have booked are also subject to cancellation. You know. So we can cancel the shows any.
Do we have a question? No? Oh, I was just reading the comments. I'm gonna go back a little bit, Pablo. You started talking about a little bit about, because the world of jazz is very can it's very broad, it's very vast. And so can you talk a little bit about how being Chilean, you know, coming from how you integrate maybe the music of South America or South American identity, and how that has maintained your drive to be a Latin jazz musician, and to kind of go between bringing those indigenous roots maybe from South America. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, that is the inspiration to continue searching for Latin American roots in the music for me, in great part comes from the respect that I've continued to acquire for other cultures. You know, I don't need to speak for the African experience. I don't need to speak for the African American experience. I don't need to speak for the American Indian experience. I need to what is needed is that I speak from my experience, you know, in a manner that is eloquent, that actually contributes valuable information to the discussion, you know, in artistic terms, you know. So it's interesting that it's like the genuine respect to other cultures has driven me to do more of an inner search and express that experience in the repertory we choose and in the musical search, you know, because yeah, jazz is a broad term that two different artists that sound totally different can be lumped into being jazz artists, you know, like music that sound totally different from each other. But that does not happen with hip hop. You know, hip hop is you cannot say that. People try to say that trap is hip hop, and it ain't. Well, that's probably not my problem to resolve. But that's my musicians' appreciation out of the music. Or rock and roll is not swing, you know. Or maybe for some people it is, you see. So there's all these gray areas, you see, in the music. But jazz is one of the music that has the most, I mean, so much music that doesn't sound nothing alike can be called jazz. And so what we do relate to the jazz experience is because of me actually being in the jazz studies program for years and actually studying the music and actually working in the jazz district with jazz artists, learning from them as an apprentice, working apprentice, and then becoming a teaching artist. The process really never ends because I continue to be a student too from some elders, you know. Like in Vegas, there is a West African master drummer. So I continue to search for elder teachers. So the connection to jazz is the experience, is my direct experience with Kansas City Jazz District and working there as a working musician, playing there and understanding that aesthetics, everything, you know, everything changes from playing in tennis shoes and jeans, you know, so I'm saying, to learn to dress up. And there's a switch too from my generation, from a Gen X coming into the music, you know. And then learn to, in the mid 90s, to dress up wasn't something that, it wasn't the fashion of the mid 90s, you see. You know, you don't walk around with a suit in the 90s, but you have to play jazz too, you know what I mean, in certain venues, you know. So that was totally different than from so that experience directly studying with Bobby Watson, playing with him, touring the US and Europe, and many other masters, you know, all the rest of the masters in Kansas City that has also important value, like him, like Lukman Hamza, Mr. Lukman, you know, all the elders, you know, and some of the young people too, with Logan, with Harold O'Neill, with all these guys who are still touring. Well, right now not, but they're in the international jazz circuit, you know. So that's a permanent living experience.
Looks like we have a question. Sorry to interrupt you. It looks like we have a question here. What kinds of music were you and your family experiencing or probably listening to before you relocated to the United States?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. The music that we were listening to was banned officially by the dictatorship that we were eventually exiled from. This is the last fascist right-wing dictatorship of the continent, you know, in the lasted until 1990 in Chile. And this regime, this political regime, had banned all Latin American music from the radios. You know, our music was banned, Latin American music, you know, especially Cuban music, the music that is most of the roots, Afro-Cuban music, that is most of the roots of all Latin music, especially that music was totally banned from the radio. Of course, because Cuba, a socialist country, was an enemy of a right-wing fascist state like Chile at the time, right? So all the music that we listen to in my that I grew up listening to and I continue to explore and study was banned from the radio. So I listened to more American music than Latin music growing up. It was a special occasion to go and listen to Latin music. It was like almost like a secret meeting, you know, because it was banned in the radio, and that was enough reason to have your house stormed by the political police and arrested and beat up or killed. That level. I mean, this is not. It's Augusto Pinochet's dictatorship that I grew up with. Okay, this is like that. It's like saying Mussolini, you know, it's the same. It's like saying Hitler, you know, in South America. You know? Okay, so this dude banned all Latin music, especially Black Latin music and indigenous music. They banned all the native languages from the school and the music. So I grew up listening to everything from Paula Abdul, Michael Jackson, everything that was hip here in the 80s. I can sing along every song. I mean, not well, obviously, because I'm a singer, I'm a drummer, you know, but I can, you know, yeah, Michael Jackson, Paula Abdul, just to say top 40 artists, Prince, you know, I mean, Black music, Black American music, but also Rick Astley. Remember Rick Astley? That I mean, really, you know. I mean, that's all the music that it was permanently in the city, in
Kansas. Chileans love Kansas.
Kansas, the rock band, the hippie rock band. Some of the hippie rock was not banned in the radio, had like a slip, but folklore and Afro-Latin, like Black Latino music and indigenous music, totally banned from the radio. Anything that involved long hair, beards, and drums and little hippie stuff, banned, out, you know? So since it was a special occasion and it was like almost like something that later I understood why, but when I was little, I was like, why so much secret with this music, you know? I mean, like, but it's awesome, and it's like, wow, it's totally different than Paula Abdul and Michael Jackson, you know? And so that almost when you ban something, you wanted more. So, you know, and then that band continues, you know, to that music, you know, in reality, you know, by the disenfranchisement of the musicians who cultivate the music, you know. Today the music industry is making music for video games. That's really the music industry, you know. And some rap still up in there in the game, making tons of money for a few people. But it's a totally different times, you know. So we rely on community organizing, you know, on playing shows.
So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe going back to Chile and how now as an elder, what you do in the music and how you connect your experience here in the United States, maybe with when you return to Chile?
Yes. Well, on I spent all 2014 living in Chile, an entire year, doing folkloric research, and I was already old. I mean, I was 40 already, something like that, you know. So yeah. So I spent all 2014 there and working with the youth. So it worked. So and it didn't take much of an effort to me to connect with them. I just deliver what I normally do here, and the young people catch on. They really we connected with my delivery, and their expectations somehow worked out. So because I thought that I was going to be just too old to work with Chilean youth, Latino youth that I haven't been around with for 20 years, you know. So it worked. It worked, and then we developed a folkloric research group, and we started studying all the drumming, you know, that has roots in Africa, indigenous American Indian, and the entire Arab world, and the entire mix of the music, and we form a troupe that is still working. And these guys are. Well, I moved back. I've been trying to move back to Chile, but just there is no way. The permanent revolution there, like, it's just permanent riots right now, you know, and you just have to Google Chile today, and you're gonna see what I mean. And it's a permanent uprising against an extremely neoliberal capitalist system in which the people barely make enough to subsist, and they just got tired and they're burning everything. You know, that's in few words what is happening. And I have deep ties to that struggle from generations, you know. So I have a very clear position about that, you know. I mean, but that informs the music that we play. That's why we also continue to push Afro-Latin music here, you know, the music, Latin American music that traces that in, because that music is the real Latin music that incorporates the experience of everybody who became a Latino, a Latin American, you know, the colonizers, the indigenous, the Africans, everybody, you know. So that's the strongest drive, because we're still living through those issues, you know. They're still so unresolved, you know.
So we have yes, Pablo was born in Chile. Just answering the questions from the chat here.
Yeah.
There's a second question. What was dangerous about your own musical traditions in relation to the dictatorship?
Oh yeah. Well, the music, folkloric, the Latin folk or Latin folklorical traditions, which roots are African and indigenous, the mix of African, indigenous, and Spanish music, to say the main elements. There is more, but those are all that music through the 60s was associated with the socialist revolutions, you know, the Cuban Revolution 1959, the socialist Cuban Revolution 1959, you know, and many Latin American movements adopted those ideas and adopted this idea of Latin Americanism, you know, like some kind of fraternal organization of Latin American states, you know. Basically a socialist revolution, you know. I mean, that's what the music is associated with, the indigenous Latin folk that was banned, because most of the most prominent artists of the music were militants, you know, the equivalent to being a Black Panther here in the US, you know. But they were, it's not called the Black Panthers there, but it's is like an Afro-Latin independentist parties, you know, revolutionaries, you know. It's directly associated with revolutionary thought.
Oops, sorry. Okay, so let's I'm just let me look through the questions real quick here. Okay, so I want to go back to you being an entrepreneur, because so the relationship, you know, with the program with the Young Leaders of America, and is really rooted in being in becoming a business leader, and how and having not foresight, but the strength to, you know, to maintain your own ideas and be a business leader. And so how, as a musician, I guess, what is the business side of the arts that you have made, that you've done, that you felt you've done well?
I think that that's been the area that I know the least, and that has been the most, the biggest obstacle to this, you know, because I think that I'm gonna make a generalization, but I think I think it has base in reality. It's like more working class youth is not raised to be entrepreneurs, you know, or is not given the elements. I mean, the conceptual frame, mental frame to be entrepreneurs. You know, we are more taught that we're going to be employees. You know, most working class upbringing. You know, and I'm from working class upbringing. My parents are teachers, and they may think that they're middle class, but you know what I mean. You know, well, you know, but I think most working class people, most what here in US we call low income or inner city, or you know, we're not even, these topics are not even discussed of being, you know, to exploit your talents. You're like, on the contrary, it's for the most, it's a put down culture, you know, among the working class. And I'm being, this is a self-critique to my class, my, you know, like, and that seems that is funny, but it's not, you know, like, I was reading Bruce Lee biography, and I hope it's real that he wrote it. I think it is, you know, and he wrote some, and these guys talk about this. I mean, how important it is not to talk down on yourself, not even in jokes, you know, not even joke about somebody's talent. Instead of uplifting, instead of saying, yes, that's great, man, it's like, no, that ain't nothing, you know? So like, that is the first thing to overcome, for me to understand that my work has commercial value, that my work it should not be free, because it's quality work, you know, and that understanding is for everybody, you know? Yeah.
So we're just getting close on time. You can finish your thought.
Oh no. That's it.
But I think that's important, because I think that is, you know, we have the, and I think it's also it's very easy to like be overly self-critical, or that the put down culture is real. It's real.
Yeah. And if anybody identifies with that, is more prominent in lower income working class circles than I've noticed that, you know, that there is a difference. Like the more well-off parents tend to permanently uplift their kids, you know, like, you know what I mean, permanently, and kind of, no matter what their flaws. And it seems like in working class environment, they pay more attention to your flaws per se, you know, than your when you're good at. And that if you don't know how to deal with that, they can end up thrown you off for life, you see? So those are the things that I'm more concerned about in encouraging and inspiring youth to pursue music, you know?
Wonderful.
You know?
So if we don't have any more questions, I think we're going to wrap up and we can watch the last music video. It's from Pablo's presentation in the Historic Jazz District at the Gym Theater. It was the first concert he did with the orchestra back
post-pandemic.
In the middle of the pandemic. So we'll shift to that if there aren't any more questions, and then we'll use the last song as an exit. So Sarah, do you want to have any closing remarks before we?
Thank you all so much for joining us today, especially our special guests. I have so enjoyed this time to hear about your experiences, and I've learned so much, and I feel so inspired. So thank you all so much, and I can't wait to listen to this next however long we get listening to the video.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, here's the music. Yep, they're already playing. I don't know who's playing now. This is what I do.
yo gozo aquí. No, 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 no me trates así. Ole, no, la, le, no, le, no, la. Oye, gózalo ahí. No, 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 no me trates así. Oye, ya para adelante no saco articulando. Gózalo ahí. No, 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 no me trates así. Oh.